Hello, Beethoven trumpets. Welcome back. Nice to see all of you. All right, let's get into our next lesson. So we're going to do a few things today. The first thing we're going to do is what you see on the screen right now. It's from a book called Clark Studies for Trumpet, and it's going to be a exercise working on our fingers. And it's chromatic. So that means we're going to play every single note in the scale. We're not going to skip anything. So while your normal scale would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, a chromatic scale would be C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, etc., all the way up. So these are just a little bit of some chromatic scales. We're going to work on those a bit. And then we're going to go to this right here, which are some lip slurs from a different exercise book. And then we're going to work on a new piece of music called In the Hall of the Mountain King, which you may or may not have heard before, but you might recognize it when we start playing it. All right. So let's get into the first exercise here. So this is going to start on a low F sharp, right? Lowest note on trumpet. So we need to make sure we're sitting up straight with good posture. We have our feet flat on the floor. We're taking a big breath of air, and we have a very warm, relaxed, slow airstream going down for that low F sharp, right? So if we can get that, and then it's just chromatic. So if you know your chromatic scale, great. If not, the notes are going to be F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat as you may know it, B, C. All right, and it's just going to repeat that. So it's going to go up and come back down, something like this. All right, so I'm going to turn a metronome on to 50 BPM. And you can go ahead. I'm going to play through it a couple times. If it's your first time listening, you can just lay out the first time and then join in the second time. If you've already watched this before, just join on in the first time. All right. So we're going to play it. I'm going to play through it twice, and I'm going to end on that low note at the end there. 1, 2, 3. All right. There we go. I did that all in one breath, but that was pretty difficult for me, so I imagine you're going to have to take a breath, and that is completely okay. Try and get through the first line, though. So the first 4 measures, try and do that all in one breath, and then take another breath for the next time you go through. All right. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to speed up the tempo. So if you didn't get that quite right, pause the video, go back, try that a few times until you get those fingerings just nailed down. You want to make sure you have those really, really nice and solid before we move on. So once you have got that, let's move on. I'm going to change the tempo here to 75 beats per minute. So that's 15 beats per minute faster. And we're going to do the same thing. All right. So you can already hear it's quite a bit faster. So you want to make sure you have your fingers down for this one. 1, 2, 3. All right, very good. And that was quite a bit faster, so you might have to pause the video, go back, do that a few more times. If you're really having trouble with it, go back to the slower one and work on the slower one. And if you have your own metronome, you can also move it up just a little bit, not so much, but since it's going to take so long if I go every single tempo marking, we're just doing the slower one and the faster one here. But I do encourage you to try a bunch of tempos in between as well. All right. And we're going to do one more of these, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. So the next one we're going to do is number 8. So we're not going to go to number 2. We're going to skip all the way down to number 8. And the reason for that is it's actually the exact same fingering as number 1. Right? So it starts on a different note. So the fingering for number 1 is do 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 do. And it's the same thing. Number 8, it's do 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 do. Exact same thing, but you start on a different note, right? So we're going to do that one. Again, we're going to start at a slower tempo, but this time it's not going to be quite as slow, just because you should already know the fingerings from number 1. So it's going to be 65 this time. All right. And I'm going to play through it twice. And go ahead and join in with me. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Again, as we did with the previous one, go ahead, pause the video, go back and work on that one a few times until you've really got it down. And then once you do, we're going to go back to the tempo we did on the other one. So that's 75 beats per minute. All right. When you're ready, just go ahead and continue on. I'm going to start the metronome now. And 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So go ahead and work on those as you need to. Make sure you get those fingerings down. Pause the video, go back, try it as many times as you need. And then once you're done with that, let's move on to the next one. Whoops. There we go. Here's some lip slurs. So the way these work, you can see there's these little markings under the notes, some numbers with a dotted line. You see the first one is 1 and 3, and what that means is we're going to play all those notes with this fingering. I know you probably know the G, so G is the first note there. It goes G, B, right? That's what it's written as, but because it wants us to play it all this way, we're going to be working on using our lips to change the note, and we're going to use, it's called an alternate fingering. So we're going to play the same note, but with a different fingering. That way we can slur between them, so it's going to sound like this. All right. So let's go ahead and start with that. I'm going to put the metronome, let's see. There we go. This is at 90 beats per minute. It's a little faster than we were doing before, but since these are all long notes, it shouldn't be too bad. All right. And you can see, so the first one's 1 and 3. The next one's 2 and 3. The next one, or sorry, it's 1 and 3. Yeah, 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 1. And it gets higher and higher. So basically, it's like a chromatic scale, but it's the fingerings from a chromatic scale starting on a D, but you're not playing those notes. A little confusing, but just match the pitch I'm playing with the fingerings I'm using, and we should be good to go. All right, and we're not going to take the repeats in this. We're just going to play it one time through, and I'll put a 4-beat rest between each one. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. One, two, three. One, two, three. Last one, two, three. All right. Cool. So that's an exercise that you want to do periodically. Long tones are great. That's exercise I do. Doesn't matter how good you are. You can play this from when you first start playing, working on some of those exercises, until you're professional in a major symphony. These are great exercises to work on. And you can always get better at them. And some issues, probably the hardest part of the whole exercise is on the first few at the very end there, right? So like the first one. Getting down to the low G is very difficult. So you need to make sure you're really open, you have nice supported air, and you have nice slow air, right? So I'm not pinched up, my elbows aren't like out here like bird wings, they're not into my chest, I'm not slouched over. Posture super important, air control super important, in order to get those low notes out. And you need to really relax going down from the D down to the G, right? If you aren't relaxing that, it's going to be very difficult. So yeah, give that a shot. Maybe try it a couple times, but it is kind of a long exercise. So if you only do it once, that's totally all right. And once you're through with that, let's move on to our new piece of music. Alrighty. So this is In the Hall of the Mountain King. You may have heard this before. I'll play the first just line for you so you can recognize it. So you may have heard that before, maybe not. Anyways, there's a couple things going on in this piece of music. So first of all, the first thing we want to learn are the notes and rhythms to make sure we get that down. The rhythms aren't particularly hard. We just got some eighth notes, some quarter notes, right? It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3. So fairly straightforward rhythm. But there's a lot of markings and stuff going on. So first of all, we are very soft at the beginning. It's a piano. And all the notes are marked staccato, so very short. And you notice, so the first line, it's marked piano. The second line, it's marked mezzo piano. At the end of the second line there, it's mezzo forte. And then in the middle of the third line, it's forte. In the middle of the fourth line, it's fortissimo. So you can see it gets louder and louder and louder throughout the piece. And that's one of the characteristics of this piece of music, is that you're playing the same rhythm. Some of the notes change a bit, but it's the same rhythm, and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder as you go throughout the piece. And as it gets louder, it gets a little bit more interesting because of the volume change. Changing the volume changes kind of the intensity of the music. So that's one thing we really want to focus on. But first of all, let's just work on getting the notes and rhythms. So we're just going to play the just the first line here. Let's slow the tempo down a bit because we don't want to play it too fast. And we'll just do some sight reading here. Let's do... All right. So this is at 60 beats per minute. We're just going to sight read this, so just go ahead and play along with me. I'll count you off, and we'll just go through it. 1, 2, 3. All right. So go ahead, try it at that tempo a couple times. Get all those notes and rhythms, and then I'm going to speed it up here. And once you've got that, continue on with the video. All right. So now we're at a faster tempo. So if you haven't got the previous tempo, go back and work on that one a bit. But if you did get it, here we are at 80 beats per minute. And go ahead and play along with me. 1, 2, 3. All right, great. And now on your own, I want you to do the same thing at the slower tempo for the next couple lines. So you need to go through kind of the whole piece this way, learning it bit by bit, and we can piece it all together. So the next one, you know, it starts on a lower note, and there's some accidentals, meaning like sharps and flats and natural signs. Sorry. All right. Let's just work on those two measures there. They're a little difficult. So what we're gonna do is kind of imagine a repeat sign around the first two measures. So we're just gonna play those on loop, and we're gonna play through it maybe 4 times. 1, 2, 3. All right. Great job. And now let's just work on the third and fourth measures of that line. So that's going to be... It's almost the same, just the last note is held out. So we're only going to do it once because it's very similar. So 1, 2, 3. All right. And at any point in this video, if you miss some stuff, just pause it, go back, retry. And now, let's see if we can put the first 2 parts together. So the first 8 measures. We're not going to do the repeat just because it takes some extra time, but if you were playing this on your own, not a bad idea to take the repeat. All right, so this is going to be at the, let's do a little bit slower tempo for the putting it all together. So this is going to be 70 beats per minute. All right, and it's going to be the first 2 lines. Go ahead and play along with me. 1, 2, 3. Nice job. Go ahead and try that a couple times. And then what I want you to do is what we just did for the first 2 lines, go ahead and do it for the next 2 lines. So there's a few more phrases, and you're going to have to learn them like that. So we're going to go just piece by piece. It's, you know, it's a little tedious, not the most exciting thing playing stuff under tempo, but you got to play it under tempo to learn it. So that's that's what you're going to need to do. On your own, then work on, let's see, measures 1, 2, the next, what is that, 8 measures. Yeah, the next 8 measures. Go ahead and work on that. And once you got that, I'm gonna play it with you at 2 different tempos, and we're only gonna go through it once here. So the first tempo is gonna be 60, which is fairly slow, a good tempo to start at, and the next one's gonna be 80, which is a lot faster. And you can only go at 80 when you've really got it down to the slower tempos. Okay. So here's 60 first. 1, 2, 3. And the hardest part of that section is definitely the last 2 measures, right? So you have... Oh, my valve's stuck. So you might have to play that one a few times. That's a difficult measure. Because previously, a lot of the notes are just right in order, right? Those are all just... notes from a C major scale, playing them in order. However, those next 2 parts have some jumps in them, right? So there's some jumps in there that you want to make sure you get. Let's just loop those. So the end of, what is that, measure? I can't read it. 15, I think. The end of measure 15 and the beginning of measure 14. So that's the 1, 2, 3. That's the 4th line. Here, I'll just play it and you can kind of get where I am. So I'm... Excuse me. So that part there. So let's loop that a few times. So we're going to play those 2 parts. So we're going to play the... We're going to play that a total of 8 times. 1, 2, 3. So definitely work on that bit a bit. And then the last part is just going that octave, right? So you have... So going from D down to D, right? So work on that a bit. The best way to practice that is just to just play it. So just go... And just play D, D, and just change the octave on D there. And just keep repeating that until you get it nailed down. And then once you got it, go ahead and put the whole thing together. All right. And then that's kind of the majority of the piece. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn the metronome on to 70 beats per minute. And you see there's 2 lines there. We've been ignoring the second one. But I will play the second one now while you play the first one so we can play this together in a harmony. So, do, 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 do. And let's not take any of the repeats. So we're just going to go straight through, ignoring any of the repeats that are there. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry about that. That was my bad. Yeah, I saw something weird there. That was just the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was the first 8 bars there. And we got that all done. So go ahead and replay that a couple times. Sorry about the very end there, but the rest of it was fine. So we can go ahead and do that. And then let's start again at measure 9. So that's the very last measure of the second line. At the mezzo forte. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. And if you ever want to retry that, so that's a little bit of an accompaniment part there. So you can go back and play the melody with the accompaniment there, and go ahead and work on that. All right, great job. This will be the end of the lesson, and I'll see you guys next time.